The massive alien ship appeared in Earth's orbit on a Tuesday morning. Commander Guan Park was having her third cup of coffee when the alert started screaming across every screen in the building. She set down her mug carefully, watching the data stream in from satellites and ground stations. The vessel was enormous, easily 3 kilometers long, with smooth metallic surfaces that reflected sunlight in strange patterns. Within an hour, the aliens had broadcast their message in perfect English, Mandarin, Spanish, and a dozen other languages. They called themselves the Valkyrie Empire. They came in peace. They wanted to meet with Earth's leaders to discuss humanity's future among the stars. G1 stood in the main briefing room of the United Earth Defense Command headquarters in Geneva. Surrounded by screens showing the alien ship from every angle, Dr. Minho Kong stood beside her. His tablet already filled with preliminary analysis data. Captain Hyeri Choi was on her other side, her military uniform crisp and her expression unreadable. The Valkyrie delegation arrived in a smaller shuttle that landed in the designated zone outside the city. When the door opened, 3 figures emerged. They were tall, nearly 2.5 meters, with smooth blue-gray skin and large dark eyes. They wore flowing robes that seemed to shimmer with built-in technology. The lead figure introduced herself as Ambassador Thelvera through a translation device that hung around her neck. Giwan met them in the grand reception hall, accompanied by diplomats from every major nation. The Valkyries seemed pleased with the formal welcome, their expressions kind and patient. Thelvera spoke slowly, as if addressing children, explaining that the Valkyrie Empire controlled 47 star systems and had been watching Earth for some time. "We believe humanity is ready to join the greater galactic community," Thelvera said, her translator rendering the words in a pleasant melodic voice. "We come bearing gifts of friendship and technology that will transform your civilization." The presentation began on massive holographic displays. The Valkyrie showed detailed schematics of their plasma propulsion systems, energy shield generators, and faster-than-light communication arrays. Each revelation was met with carefully orchestrated gasps and murmurs from the assembled diplomats. Giwan kept her face neutral, nodding at appropriate moments. "These technologies represent thousands of years of Valkyrie development," Thelvera continued. "With these gifts, humanity can begin exploring beyond your solar system. You can establish colonies on distant worlds. You can communicate across the stars instantaneously." Minho was sitting in the technical observers section, his tablet screen showing the same schematics the Valkyrie were presenting. His hands were steady, but Jiwan could see the tension in his shoulders. She knew what he was thinking, because she was thinking the same thing. The plasma drive design on the screen was almost identical to the Yuzumamoto, the drive that powered every deep space vessel in Earth's fleet. The energy shield technology was a generation behind what human ships currently used. In exchange for these technologies, Thelvera said, "We ask only for your biological diversity data and cultural archives." The Valkyrie Empire prizes knowledge and wishes to preserve the unique aspects of every civilization we encounter. The request seemed reasonable enough. Biological data and cultural records in exchange for technology that would supposedly revolutionize human civilization. Several Earth diplomats were already whispering excitedly to their assistants. The media broadcasts would be calling it the greatest day in human history. G1 stood and approached the holographic displays, examining them with apparent interest. "These are remarkable technologies, Ambassador. May I ask how long the Valkyrie have been using these systems?" "The current plasma drive design has been standard in our empire for approximately 300 of your years," Thelvera replied with obvious pride. "It has proven reliable technology and the energy shields. Even longer. They protect every Valkyrie vessel and station in space. Nothing can penetrate them."
Ow.
Giwan smiled politely. "How generous of you to share such advanced systems with us. However, I must request time to consult with our technical experts and political leadership before we can provide a formal response to your offer. Would 72 hours be acceptable?" Thelvera seemed surprised by the request, but nodded graciously. "Of course, we understand that such momentous decisions require careful consideration. We will return to our ship and await your response." As the Valkyrie delegation departed, Escorted by security teams and surrounded by cameras, Gi-wan turned to her core team. Hyeri was already on her communicator, sending encrypted messages to military command. Minho looked like he was trying very hard not to laugh. "They're serious," Minho said quietly once they were alone in the secure conference room. "They actually think this technology will be new to us." "How close are the specifications to our current systems?" Gi-wan asked. Minho pulled up comparison charts on the main screen. "The plasma drive is nearly identical to our fourth-generation Husa design from 38 years ago. Their energy shields use the same basic principle as our current defensive arrays, but our version can handle about 40% more impact force. The FTL communication is the closest match, but even there, we've made improvements to the signal stability and range." Hyeri returned from making her secure calls. "Admiral Sung wants a full briefing within the hour. He's asking how much we should reveal." "That's the question, isn't it?" Gi-wan said, pacing slowly around the table. "They came here expecting to find a primitive civilization grateful for their advanced technology. They have no idea that we've been building ships with this same technology for decades." "Do we tell them?" Minho asked. "Or do we play along? Or do we show them what we're really capable of?" Hyeri added. Gi-wan looked at the data streaming across the screens, showing analysis of the Valkyrie ship in orbit. Their sensors were good, but not good enough to detect Earth's stealth satellites or the defensive platforms hidden throughout the solar system. The Valkyrie were confident, perhaps overconfident. They saw themselves as benevolent teachers bringing light to a primitive world. "We need to be smart about this," Gi-wan said finally. "They traveled across the galaxy to make this offer. That means something. Either they're genuinely trying to help, or they want something more than biological data and cultural archives." "Intelligence suggests they're facing pressure from rival civilizations," Hyeri said. "They might be looking for allies, not just new members for their empire." "Then we need to understand their real intentions before we show our hand," Gi-wan decided. "Minho, I want a full technical analysis of everything they showed us. Compare it to our current systems and note any areas where they might actually be ahead of us. Harry, work with intelligence to find out everything we can about Valkyrie politics and their position in the galaxy." "What are you going to do?" Minho asked. Guan smiled slightly. "I'm going to call Admiral Sung and discuss how much we're going to tell them. This is going to be a very interesting conversation." As her team dispersed to their assignments, Gi-wan stood alone in the conference room, looking at the holographic image of the Valkyrie ship, rotating slowly in orbit above Earth. Humanity had kept its secrets for almost a century, developing technology in the shadows while the rest of the galaxy assumed they were still primitive. Now that assumption was being tested. The question wasn't whether humanity could match the Valkyrie. The question was whether humanity should reveal that they already had. The elevator descended deep beneath Jeju Island, passing through layers of security that few people on Earth even knew existed. Kaewon stood beside Admiral Taeyang Soong, and Intelligence Officer Yuna Im, watching the depth counter increase as they dropped further underground. The facility had no official name, no budget that appeared in any government records, and technically did not exist. "How much do you know about the Gobi incident?" Soonga asked as the elevator slowed. "Only what's in the basic briefing," Juan replied. "An object crashed in 2089. Recovery teams secured it. That's where our technology started. It's the simplified version," Sung said. The elevator doors opened into a vast underground complex. "The real story is more interesting." They walked through corridors lined with glass cases containing pieces of alien technology. Each piece was labeled with dates, analysis reports, and technical specifications. Yuna led them to a large chamber where a massive screen showed a map of the Gobi Desert highlighted in red. June 14, 2089, Yuna began, pulling up archived satellite images. Chinese military radar detected an object entering atmosphere at extreme velocity. It was too fast for any known aircraft or missile. The object crashed in a remote area of the desert, creating an impact crater 12 meters deep. The screen showed grainy footage of the crash site. Chinese and Korean military teams had arrived within hours, establishing a perimeter and beginning recovery operations. The wreckage was unlike anything human technology could produce at the time. Smooth metallic surfaces that resisted conventional tools, power systems that still functioned despite the violent crash, and propulsion components that defied Earth's understanding of physics. The Chinese government immediately classified everything and contacted their Korean and Japanese counterparts, Yuna continued. Within a week, an international team was assembled in secret. The official story was that the crash site contained hazardous materials. No civilians were allowed within 50 kilometers. Sung gestured to another screen, which displayed a photograph of a woman in her 30s with sharp eyes and a determined expression. Dr. Daeon Lee. She was a physicist working on experimental propulsion systems at Seoul National University. The government recruited her to lead the analysis team. Screen showed more photographs. Dr. Lee standing beside pieces of alien wreckage, teams of scientists working in clean rooms, carefully disassembling systems they barely understood, blackboards covered with equations and diagrams. The timeline at the bottom of the screen showed the project spanning from 2089 to 2104. 15 years, Juan said quietly. They worked on it for 15 years. Dr. Lee's team was brilliant, Sung said with obvious respect. They didn't just study the wreckage. They reverse-engineered every system, understanding not just what it did but why it worked. The plasma propulsion system took 7 years to fully decode. The energy manipulation technology took another 4. Yuna pulled up technical documents showing the progression from alien technology to human understanding. Early reports were filled with questions and uncertainty. Later reports showed confidence and innovation. By 2100, human engineers weren't just copying the alien designs anymore. They were improving them. The probe was Valkyrie, Sung said. We know that now. It was an automated survey vessel, probably sent to observe Earth decades before we even had satellites. Something malfunctioned, and it crashed. They never came back to look for it. So we've had their technology for almost a century, Guan said. Not exactly, Sung corrected. We had a broken probe with damaged systems. What we have now is human technology that was inspired by and built upon Valkyrie principles. Our plasma drives are 4th generation. Our energy shields incorporate materials science advances the Valkyrie never developed. We didn't just copy them, we surpassed them. The screen changed to show footage of Earth's first deep space vessel, the UNSS Explorer. Launching in 2125, its engines glowed with the distinctive blue-white of a plasma drive. The ship that humanity told the public was a breakthrough in fusion propulsion was actually powered by technology reverse-engineered from an alien crash. Why keep it secret? Gi-wan asked. We could have shared this with the world, as we knew they were out there, Yuna said. If one probe crashed, there would be others. If the Valkyrie existed, so did other species. Earth's leadership made a calculated decision. Develop the technology in secret, build our capabilities, and wait for first contact on our terms. Sung led them to another section of the facility where newer technology was displayed. Warships under construction in orbital yards. Defensive satellites equipped with weapon systems. FTL communication relays that connected Earth's forces across the solar system. For decades, we prepared, Sung said. We built ships that could defend Earth from any threat. We established colonies on Mars and Europa and the moons of Saturn. We did all of this quietly, telling the public it was conventional technology advancing naturally. And we waited for the day when the Valkyrie or someone like them would arrive. And now they're here, Gi-wan said. Offering us technology we've had for 40 years, Yuna pulled up current intelligence reports. It's not altruism. The Valkyrie Empire is facing pressure from rival civilizations. The Korthon Collective is expanding aggressively from the Galactic East. The Threnal Federation controls key trade routes to the galactic core. The Valkyrie want allies, not subjects. But they still think of themselves as the dominant power. The ones who decide who joins the galactic community and under what terms. They want to bring us into their sphere of influence before their competitors do, Q1 said. Exactly, Sung confirmed. If we accept their technology and their partnership, we become associated with the Valkyrie Empire. We're protected by them, but also dependent on them. They maintain the superior position, Guan studied the displays showing Earth's hidden fleet. 30 warships, each one using technology the Valkyrie thought they were introducing to humanity for the first time. Hundreds of defensive platforms. Thousands of personnel trained in systems that officially didn't exist. Dr. Lee died 5 years ago, Sung said quietly. She spent her entire career making sure humanity would be ready for this moment. She always said that when first contact came, we needed to be strong enough to negotiate as equals, not as primitives begging for scraps of technology. What would she advise now? Guan asked. Sung smiled slightly. She would tell us to be smart, be patient, and make sure humanity controls its own destiny. The Valkyrie came here expecting gratitude and submission. We need to decide what we give them instead. Yuna brought up more recent intelligence. The Valkyrie ship in orbit has been conducting passive scans of our planet and near-space infrastructure. They're trying to assess our technological level without being obvious about it. They've seen our satellites and space stations, but they haven't detected our military assets. Our stealth technology works. How long can we maintain the illusion? Guan asked. As long as we need to, Sung said. But eventually, we'll have to reveal something. The question is, what, when, and how? They stood in silence, surrounded by the evidence of humanity's secret advancement. The crashed Valkyrie probe had given Earth a gift the aliens never intended. It had given humanity time to prepare, time to grow, time to become something more than a primitive species waiting to be discovered. They offered us a technology exchange, G1 said finally. Maybe we should give them one. A real one. Show them what humanity has accomplished. That's a significant risk, Yuna warned. We don't know how they'll react. We also don't know what we could accomplish together if we approached this as genuine partners instead of playing diplomatic games. Guan countered. Sung nodded slowly. That's a decision for the full Earth Council. But you're right. Dr. Lee spent her life preparing us for first contact. She would want us to face it honestly, from a position of strength. As they returned to the elevator, Guan looked back at the displays, showing decades of secret development. Humanity had been given an unexpected advantage and they had used it well. Now it was time to decide what kind of civilization Earth wanted to be in the galaxy. One that hid its strength and played weak, or one that stood openly as the innovative, capable species they had become. The next 72 hours would determine humanity's future among the stars. The United Earth Assembly Chamber was packed with representatives from every nation. Military advisors, scientists, and intelligence officers. Guan stood at the central podium, presenting the options that had emerged from 3 days of intense debate. The holographic displays around her showed the Valkyrie ships still in orbit, waiting patiently for humanity's response. We have 4 primary strategies, Guan said, her voice carrying through the chamber. Each has advantages and risks. She brought up the first option, complete transparency. We tell the Valkyrie everything. We show them the crashed probe from 2089, a reverse engineering process, and our current technological capabilities. We propose a genuine partnership between equals. A European diplomat raised his hand. That's honest, but it gives away every advantage we have. They'll know we've been hiding our strength for decades. It also might offend them, added an Asian representative. We essentially stole their technology and improved it without their knowledge or consent. Guan nodded and moved to the second option, strategic ambiguity. We accept their technology exchange without revealing what we already know. We maintain the advantage of being underestimated. They think we're primitive, so they'll underestimate us in any future negotiations. That's deceptive, someone objected. It damages trust before we've even established it. And it's dangerous, Minho added from his seat in the technical section. If they discover we've been hiding our capabilities, they'll assume the worst about our intentions. The third option appeared on the screens. Full demonstration of superiority. We reveal our fleet, our technology, everything. We shock them into respecting us as a major power. That's aggressive, Admiral Sung said. It could be seen as a threat. The Valkyrie might respond defensively or call in their military forces. Guan brought up the fourth option, the one she and Ambassador Sorahan had developed together. Calculated revelation. We accept their offer graciously. We begin the technology exchange. But during that process, we gradually demonstrate that we're more advanced than they assumed. We study their reactions, understand their true intentions, and control how much they learn about us. Sora stood to support the proposal. This approach gives us flexibility. We start the relationship on friendly terms, but we maintain control over what information we share and when. We can adjust our strategy based on how the Velkhari respond to each revelation. The debate continued for hours. Some representatives wanted complete honesty, arguing that any deception would poison future relations. Others wanted to maintain every possible advantage, keeping humanity's true capabilities secret indefinitely. The military advisors were split between caution and confidence. Finally, the vote was called. The calculated revelation strategy won by a narrow margin. Humanity would accept the Velkhari gift, while carefully revealing their own advancement through the exchange process. That evening, Gi-wan and Sora hosted a formal dinner with the Velkhari delegation at a prestigious Geneva restaurant. Thelvera arrived with 2 other Velkhari officials, all dressed in their elegant robes. The dinner was meant to be a cultural exchange, a chance for both species to learn about each other. Beyond technology and politics, Minho was invited as the chief technical advisor. He sat across from Thelvera, engaging in polite conversation about scientific advancement and exploration. The Velkhari were clearly proud of their achievements, describing the wonders of their empire with genuine enthusiasm. "Your plasma propulsion technology is particularly interesting," Minho said casually over the main course. "The way you use magnetic fields to channel and accelerate the plasma. Some human physicists theorized similar approaches decades ago, but we never had the resources to test them properly." Thelvera's translator conveyed something that might have been surprise. "Theoretical work? On plasma propulsion?" "Oh yes," Minho continued, keeping his tone light. "Nothing as refined as your systems, of course. Just mathematical models and small-scale experiments. But the fundamental principles seemed similar." The other Velkhari officials exchanged glances. One of them, a scientist named Velkhora, leaned forward with obvious interest. "What kind of experiments?" "Small fusion reactors, mostly. We explored magnetic confinement and plasma dynamics for power generation. Some of the data suggested applications for propulsion, but it was all theoretical." Minho smiled. "Your technology will help us understand if those theories were correct." The conversation moved on, but G1 noticed that the Velkhari seemed slightly less certain than before. The seed of doubt had been planted. Humans weren't quite as primitive as they appeared. Over the next 2 days, the formal response was prepared. Earth would accept the Velkhari technology exchange. In return, Earth would provide biological diversity databases and cultural archives as requested. The signing ceremony was scheduled for the end of the week, but during those 2 days, strange things started happening. Captain Hyeri, Choi's security teams detected an unidentified vessel conducting scans of Earth's outer satellite network. The ship was using Velkhari technology signatures, but wasn't part of the official diplomatic mission. "It's a scout ship," Hyeri reported in a secure briefing. "They're trying to map our defensive capabilities without making it obvious." "So much for their peaceful diplomatic mission," Yuna said dryly. "They're gathering intelligence. Can we identify what they're scanning?" Jiwan asked. "They're focused on our communication satellites and weather monitoring systems," Hyeri said. "The things they think represent our most advanced technology. They're not detecting our military assets because those are using stealth systems they don't expect us to have." Sung studied the tracking data. "They're being cautious. They want to know what they're dealing with before they commit to a long-term relationship. And they're smarter than we thought," Jiwan said. "They're not as overconfident as they seemed." The signing ceremony took place in the Grand Assembly Hall, with cameras broadcasting to every corner of Earth and streaming into space. Salvera and Sora Han stood together, surrounded by dignitaries and officials. The treaty documents were displayed on holographic screens written in both human languages and Velkhari script. "Today marks a new era for humanity," Sora Han said in her speech. "We stand at the threshold of the galactic community, ready to learn, to grow, and to contribute to the wider civilization among the stars." Thelvera spoke of friendship, and cooperation, of the Valkyrie Empire's commitment to helping younger species achieve their potential. The words were diplomatic and warm. But Jiwan noticed the ambassador's eyes kept drifting to the technical advisors in the audience. After the ceremony, as guests mingled and celebrated, Hyeri approached Jiwan with an urgent message. "We have a situation. The Korthon Collective has sent a ship to the edge of our solar system. They're demanding to know why the Valkyrie are establishing relations with Earth." "Another faction," Guan said. "They want their own claim. Intelligence says the Korthon are more aggressive than the Valkyrie. If they think Earth is being absorbed into the Valkyrie sphere of influence, they might make a hostile move to prevent it." Giwan looked across the room at Thelvera, who was receiving the same news from her own advisors. The Valkyrie ambassador's expression was difficult to read. There was definitely concern there. The diplomatic game was getting more complicated. The Valkyrie were secretly assessing Earth's capabilities, while publicly offering friendship. The Korthon were making aggressive moves to stake their own claim. And somewhere in the middle, humanity had to navigate between revealing too much and not revealing enough. "What do the Valkyrie expect us to do?" G1 asked. "They probably expect us to panic," Hyeri said. "To beg them for protection against the Korthon threat." "And what are we going to do instead?" Hyeri smiled slightly. "That depends on how much we want to reveal." Giwan watched Thelvera cross the room toward her, the ambassador's expression now carefully neutral. The next conversation would be crucial. The Korthon arrival had accelerated everything. Earth could no longer maintain the illusion of being a primitive world caught between galactic powers. Commander Park Thelvera said formally, "We need to discuss the Korthon situation. They can be quite aggressive with species they view as weak or unprotected." Perhaps Jiwan said carefully, "They're operating under some incorrect assumptions about Earth's capabilities." Thelvera's large eyes studied Jiwan for a long moment. The translator device around her neck hummed softly, but the ambassador didn't speak immediately. Finally, she said, "Perhaps we all are." The game was entering its next phase, and both sides knew it. The question was, who would reveal their hand first, and what would happen when all the secrets finally came to light? The joint research facility on Luna was a marvel of diplomatic cooperation. Built in just 3 weeks after the signing ceremony, it represented both species' commitment to the technology exchange. The dome structure housed laboratories, meeting rooms, and quarters for both human and Valkyrie scientists. Through the transparent ceiling, Earth hung in the black sky, a reminder of how far humanity had come. Minho led the human technical team. Working alongside Valkora and 6 other Valkyrie scientists, the Valkyrie had arrived with detailed instruction materials, prepared to spend months teaching humans the basics of their technology. They expected confusion, slow progress, and many questions from the primitive Earth scientists. What they got instead was deeply unsettling. The plasma containment field needs to maintain a stable configuration at 800,000 Kelvin. Valkora explained on the first day, gesturing to the holographic display showing a propulsion assembly. The magnetic field strength must be precisely calibrated to prevent plasma escape. Engineer Junho Beek, a specialist in propulsion systems, studied the display for perhaps 30 seconds before nodding. "Right, so you're using a toroidal field geometry with supplementary vertical stabilizers. Have you considered a stellarator configuration instead? It should be more stable at higher temperatures." Valkora's translator struggled with the technical terms. "A what configuration?" "Stellarator. It's a twisted toroid that creates natural stability without needing as much active magnetic correction. We could improve your efficiency by maybe 15%. The Valkyrie scientist stared at him. "You understand plasma physics at this level?" "Well, sure," Junho said, seeming confused by the question. "It's pretty fundamental to fusion power systems. We've been using similar principles in our reactors for decades." Over the next few days, the pattern repeated itself. The Valkyrie would explain a system. The human engineers would not only understand it immediately, but suggest improvements. When they tested Junho's stellarator modification, it worked exactly as he predicted, increasing the drive's efficiency by 16%. Valkora grew increasingly suspicious. She started asking pointed questions about human technological development, about how long they'd been studying these principles, about where their knowledge came from. Minho deflected carefully, but the Velkari scientist was too intelligent to be easily fooled. Meanwhile, in orbit around Earth, Captain Hyeri Choi was managing a different kind of tension. The Korthon Collective had sent 3 warships to the outer edge of the solar system, claiming they were there to observe the situation between the Velkari and humanity. Their ships were heavily armed, and their communications aggressive. Earth must understand that it has options, the Korthon commander broadcasted. The Velkari Empire is declining. Their technology is outdated. The Korthon Collective offers superior partnership terms. The Velkari ship in orbit detected the Korthon presence and immediately sent urgent messages to their nearest military base. They expected Earth to panic, to request Velkari protection, to realize how dangerous the galaxy truly was. Instead, Admiral Sung calmly activated Earth's defensive network. Throughout the solar system, stealth systems deactivated. 30 warships that had been hiding in plain sight suddenly appeared on every sensor. Defensive platforms around Earth, Mars, and the orbital stations powered up their weapons. Communication arrays that seemed like simple satellites revealed themselves as military coordination nodes in the lunar facility. Velcora was explaining energy shield technology when every alert system in the building went off simultaneously. The holographic displays switched to show the system-wide military activation. The Velkari scientists stared in shock at the tactical display showing dozens of human warships moving into defensive formations. "What is this?" Velcora demanded. "Where did these ships come from?" Minho looked at the display with calculated concern. "Our defensive fleet. Did we not mention them?" "Your defensive fleet?" Velcora's voice rose. "These ships use plasma drives, energy shields, advanced weapon systems. This technology should not exist on Earth." "Well," Junho said carefully, "we've been working on these systems for a while now." The Korthon ships had detected the human fleet activation. Their sensors analyzed the signatures and recognized Velkari pattern technology. The Korthon commander immediately sent a message to the Velkari ambassador. "You have already armed Earth with your weapons. The Korthon Collective will not interfere with Velka-reprotected space." The 3 Korthon warships turned and accelerated away from the solar system, not wanting to risk an incident that could trigger a larger conflict with the Velkari Empire. But Thelvira knew the truth. Those human ships weren't gifts from the Velkari. They were older than the first contact mission. Much older, the ambassador requested an emergency meeting with Earth's leadership. Juon, Sora, Han, and Admiral Sung met her in a secure conference room. Thelvira's usual diplomatic composure was strained. "Those warships," she said without preamble. "How long have you had them?" "Our first deep space vessel launched in 2125, Sung replied calmly. "Most of the ships you detected were built over the past 40 years. It's impossible. You should not have this technology. We gave it to you 6 days ago. You offered to give it to us," Juon corrected gently. "We accepted your offer as the diplomatic gesture it was meant to be." Thelvira stood abruptly, her tall frame towering over the seated humans. "This is deception. You allowed us to believe you were primitive. You accepted our technology as if it was revolutionary when you already possessed it." "We accepted it graciously," Sorahan said, "just as you offered it generously. Neither side has been entirely honest about their capabilities or intentions." "What do you mean?" "Your scout ship," Hyeri said, pulling up sensor data. "The one that's been scanning our satellite network for the past week. The one you didn't tell us about when you claimed to come in peace?" Thelvira's expression shifted. She sat down slowly. "You detected that?" "Our stealth technology is quite good," Hyeri said. "We've been tracking your scout ship since it arrived." There was a long silence. "Finally," Thelvira said quietly, "how did you get our technology?" Sung pulled up the files from the Jeju Island facility. Images of the crashed probe, technical analysis reports, Dr. Lee's research notes. The entire history of humanity's secret development laid out for the Velkari ambassador to see. "In 2089, one of your automated probes malfunctioned and crashed in Earth's Gobi Desert," Sung explained. "We recovered it. We studied it. Over 15 years, we learned how it worked. And then we improved it. You reverse engineered a survey probe? Thelvera seemed torn between horror and admiration. We did more than that, Minho said from the doorway. He'd come up from Luna for the meeting. We innovated. Your plasma drives were a starting point. Our current models are 4th generation, 40% more efficient than the original design. Your energy shields inspired our defensive systems, but ours can withstand greater impacts. We didn't just copy your technology, Ambassador. We built upon it. Belcora entered behind Minho, having accompanied him from the lunar facility. They understand principles we thought were uniquely Velkar. They see flaws in our designs that we never noticed. They suggest improvements that actually work. The scientist looked at her ambassador. They're not primitive, Thelvera. They're innovative in ways we've forgotten to be. Thelvera sat in silence, processing everything. Her entire understanding of humanity had been shattered. The grateful primitives she thought she was helping were actually peers, who had been politely humoring her patronizing approach. What happens now? She asked finally. That depends, Juan said. You came here offering technology as a gift to primitives. We accepted it as the diplomatic kindness it was intended to be. But now we can drop the pretense. We both have capabilities we didn't fully reveal. We both have interests we haven't completely shared. The question is whether we continue playing games or start building something real. You deceived us, Thelvera said, but there was less anger in her voice now. More consideration. You were gathering intelligence on us without permission, Hyeri countered. You expected us to be weak and grateful. We expected you to be honest and open. We were both wrong. Sorahan leaned forward. Ambassador, the galaxy is vast and dangerous. We've both seen that today. The Korthon came looking for weakness and found strength instead. How many other powers are out there, waiting to test us? How many threats exist that neither of our civilizations could face alone? You're suggesting a real partnership, Thelvera said. We're suggesting honesty, Giwan replied. You need allies, not vassals. We need partners, not patrons. Maybe together we can build something that benefits both our civilizations, Velcora spoke up. The Valkyrie Empire has become complacent. We maintain our technology but rarely innovate anymore. Seeing what humans accomplished with a single crashed probe, how you improved designs we thought were perfect, it's humbling and exciting. Thelvera looked at her science advisor, then back at the humans. Slowly, she extended her hand in the human gesture of agreement she'd learned. Then let us start over. Honestly this time, Guan shook her hand. The revelation was complete. Now, the real work could begin. The news of humanity's true capabilities spread through the Valkyrie Empire like a shockwave. Ambassador Thelvera sent detailed reports to the Valkyrie High Council, explaining the crashed probe, the reverse engineering, and the decades of human innovation that followed. The response from the Empire was mixed, complicated, and intensely political. Counselor Kreshival Azivel, the military leader of the Valkyrie Empire, called for immediate isolation of humanity. They stole our technology, he argued in the council chambers that Thelvera attended via holographic link. They deceived us for weeks. They allowed us to believe they were primitive while hiding a military fleet. This is a threat to the Empire's security. The improved technology we thought was perfected, countered another counselor. They innovated beyond our best engineers using nothing but a crashed probe and their own creativity. That's not a threat. That's an opportunity. The debate raged for days. Some Valkyrie felt embarrassed that a supposedly primitive species had surpassed them. Others felt angry at the deception. But a growing faction, led by scientists like Velcora, argued that humanity represented something the Valkyrie Empire desperately needed. Fresh thinking and innovative problem-solving on Earth. Juan and her team prepared for the possibility that the Valkyrie would sever all contact. Military forces remained on alert. Diplomatic channels stayed open, but the future was uncertain. Humanity had revealed its hand. And now they had to wait to see how the galaxy would respond. The breakthrough came from an unexpected source. Velcora submitted a formal proposal to the Valkyrie High Council, Kothart with Minho and Junho, It was a technical paper demonstrating what could be achieved through genuine human-Valkyrie collaboration. Using the Stellarator drive modification as the primary example, our plasma drive design had remained unchanged for 3 centuries, Valcora wrote. We believed it was optimal. In 6 days of collaboration, human engineers identified a fundamental improvement we had never considered. The Stellarator configuration increases efficiency by 16% while improving stability. This is not theft or deception. This is innovation that benefits both species. The paper included projections showing what true partnership could achieve: new propulsion systems, advanced materials, improved energy generation, enhanced defensive capabilities. The potential was enormous if both civilizations could move past pride and politics to work together honestly. Thelvera forwarded the paper to Earth's leadership along with a private message. You gave me the truth. Now I'm giving the Empire a choice. Let's see if they're wise enough to take it. While the Valkyrie debated internally, the Korthan Collective made its own decision. Having witnessed Earth's defensive capabilities, they sent their own diplomatic mission, this time, without the aggressive posturing. They wanted to establish relations with this new power that had appeared in the galaxy. Word is spreading, Yuna reported in a security briefing. Other civilizations are learning that Earth isn't a primitive world waiting to be absorbed into someone's empire. We're being taken seriously. Is that good or bad? High Airy asked. It's real, Admiral Sung said. We're not hiding anymore. We're not pretending to be weak. We're showing the galaxy what humanity actually is. The Valkyrie High Council took 2 weeks to reach a decision. When Thelvera finally received the verdict, she immediately arranged a meeting with Earth's leadership at the lunar facility. The location was symbolic, the place where the deception had been revealed and where genuine collaboration had begun. The Council has voted, Thelvera announced to the assembled humans in Valkyrie. By a narrow margin, they have approved a reformed partnership with humanity, not as patrons and subjects, but as equals. There was visible relief in the room. Minho and Valcora exchanged satisfied looks. Junho grinned openly. There are conditions, Thelvera continued. Full transparency about technological capabilities. Joint oversight of any projects involving shared technology. Informal agreements about how innovations are credited and distributed. Those are reasonable terms, Sorahan said. We accept. There's one more thing, Thelvera said. The Empire wants to understand how humanity achieved such rapid advancement. Not to copy your methods, but to learn from them. We've become stagnant. We maintain systems, but rarely innovate anymore. You've reminded us that there's always room for improvement. We learned from your probe, Giwan said. Maybe you can learn from our approach. We question everything. We test constantly. We're never satisfied with good enough when better is possible. Over the following months, the true partnership took shape. The lunar facility expanded dramatically, becoming a major research center where scientists from both species worked side by side. Projects that had seemed impossible for either civilization alone became achievable through collaboration. The most successful project was the next-generation FTL drive, combining human efficiency improvements with Valkyrie stability enhancements. Minho and Valcora led the development team, presenting the design to a joint human-Valkyrie review board. The existing Valkyrie drive design works reliably, but requires significant power, Minho explained, gesturing to holographic schematics. Human modifications improved efficiency, but at the cost of some stability. The new design combines both approaches. We use human-developed materials for the containment fields, Valcora added. These allow higher energy densities while maintaining the structural integrity that Valkyrie engineering emphasizes. The result is 60% more effective than either species could achieve independently. The prototype drive was installed in a test vessel, a joint construction that flew under both Earth and Valkyrie flags. The test flight took the ship from Earth to the outer edge of the solar system and back in a fraction of the time existing drives required. The mission was a complete success. News of the collaboration spread throughout the galaxy. Other civilizations watched with interest as the Valkyrie Empire and humanity demonstrated what could be achieved through genuine partnership rather than domination or exploitation. Some were skeptical. Others were intrigued. A few were worried about what this new alliance might mean for the balance of power. 6 months after first contact, representatives from both civilizations gathered for the dedication ceremony of the expanded research station near Jupiter. The station was massive, capable of housing hundreds of researchers and equipped with the most advanced facilities either species could provide. Commander Guan Park stood at the podium, looking out at the audience of humans and Valkyrie. When the Valkyrie first arrived in Earth's orbit, we faced a choice about how to present ourselves. We could have remained hidden, appearing weak, while maintaining our secret strength. We could have immediately demonstrated our capabilities, shocking them into respect through force. Instead, we chose a more complicated path. We revealed ourselves gradually, learning about them while they learned about us. She paused, glancing at Thelvira, who stood nearby. It wasn't perfect. There were misunderstandings and hurt feelings. But it led us here to genuine partnership based on mutual respect and shared goals. Thelvira stepped forward. The Valkyrie Empire came to Earth believing we were teachers, bringing light to a primitive world. We were wrong. We found colleagues, innovators, and partners who challenged us to be better than we had been. In trying to help humanity, we discovered that humanity could help us. The ceremony concluded with the activation of the station's main systems, powered by the new collaborative drive technology. The energy signature was unique, a blend of human and Valkyrie engineering that represented something neither species had achieved, long after the official events. Minho and Velcora stood together in one of the observation lounges. Watching Earth and Jupiter through the massive windows, they had become friends over the months of collaboration. Their initial professional respect growing into genuine partnership. When we first arrived, I thought you were primitive, Velcora admitted. I was prepared to spend years teaching you basic concepts. You first arrived, we thought you were arrogant, Minho replied honestly. We were prepared to politely accept your gifts while hiding what we really knew. We were both foolish, we were both careful, maybe too careful. Cora nodded slowly. What happens now? We've proven that collaboration works. We've built this station and the new drive system. What comes next? Everything, Minho said with a slight smile. The galaxy is vast. There are problems neither of our species can solve alone. Threats we'll need to face together. Wonders we can only discover through partnership. You make it sound simple? It's not simple. It's necessary. The Valkyrie needed innovation. Humanity needed experience and resources. Together, we're stronger than we could ever be separately. Below them, the new station hummed with activity. Human and Valkyrie researchers worked in labs, testing theories and building technologies. The cultural exchange areas were filled with people from both species learning each other's languages, customs, and traditions. The dining facilities served food from Earth and from 17 Valkyrie worlds.